There are over 600 people on California death row. Robert Fairbanks, 37 years on death row. A week after essaying one woman, Fairbanks tortured and killed a second woman in his apartment, then dumped her in the woods and set her body on fire. He became a suspect after police responded to a report by his physically abused girlfriend. Keith Fudge, 37 years on death row. During a fight between LA street gangs, Fudge and accomplices drove up to a house party and began firing, killing 5 people and injuring 5 others. Willie Johnson, 37 years on death row. Johnson and another man invaded the home of a drug dealer's girlfriend and shot the woman and her mother. The mother died. Brian Jones, 37 years on death row. Jones killed 2 women and essayed or attempted to kill 3 more. He was charged but not convicted of similarly killing 2 other women. Martin Kipp, 37 years on death row. Kipp essayed, robbed, and murdered 2 young women, including a college student who had just arrived in Long Beach. Stephen Livaditis, 37 years on death row. He killed 2 hostages during a Beverly Hills jewelry store robbery. A 3rd hostage died in police crossfire. Mitchell Sims, 37 years on death row. Sims and a partner killed a pizza delivery man, stole his uniform, and then robbed the pizza restaurant where he worked, locking employees in a locker. Paul Tuilaepa, 37 years on death row. In 1986, he shot 4 men during a robbery of patrons at a crowded Long Beach bar, killing 1. He has been in isolation since 2006 for assaulting officers. Conrad Zappian, 37 years on death row. Zappian was convicted of killing a woman who was having an affair with his sister's husband. Max Barney, 36 years on death row. He fought for a year with a former gold dredging partner he accused of stealing from him. A year later, he and others confronted the former partner at a gold camp and shot, beat, and tortured him before stabbing him to death. Joseph Barrett, 20 years on death row. Barrett stabbed his prison cellmate to death. He was serving a life sentence for beating a man to death with a barbell when he was 16. Rodney Berryman, 36 years on death row. He stabbed a 17-year-old girl to death during an essay. Kenneth Bivert, 36 years on death row. A prison gang leader serving a life sentence for killing 3 people in incidents 2 days apart who were fishing along a Sacramento riverbank when he was 17, he stabbed to death an inmate who refused his orders to attack another inmate. Tracy Kane, 36 years on death row. Kane robbed and killed an elderly couple who lived next door to his father's house. William Dennis, 36 years on death row. After the drowning death of his 3-year-old son, Dennis dressed in a Halloween werewolf costume to kill his pregnant ex-wife. Curtis Fauber, 36 years on death row. He killed a man with the blunt side of an axe while robbing his house of cocaine and drug money. Jerry Fry, 36 years on death row. Camped on a gold mining claim in order to cultivate Mary Jane, Fry killed an elderly couple living in a cabin nearby in order to steal their cash. Kevin Halley, 36 years on death row. He broke into a woman's apartment and essayed and killed her. Arthur Halverson, 36 years on death row. Halverson, a self-employed contractor with bipolar disorder, shot 4 men in 3 separate incidents, killing 2 and wounding 2 others, including a former professional football player who tackled him and cut his throat with broken glass. William Hart, 36 years on death row. Hart convinced 2 teen girls to accompany him to a remote area, essaying both of them and killing 1. He drove the second girl back to town after she convinced him she would not tell. Michael Hill, 36 years on death row. Hill killed a man and his 4-year-old son during a robbery of an Oakland jewelry store. Gary Hines, 36 years on death row. He killed a woman and her 15-year-old daughter in order to steal the family's pink Model T Roadster replica. Laverne Johnson, 36 years on death row. Johnson beat a woman to death and strangled her daughter with wire, then set their house on fire. He had been dating the daughter and went to their house for dinner when he robbed the woman of their gold jewelry and killed them. He had 4 prior convictions for robbery and burglary, as well as cases that never went to trial for offenses including essays. Lance Osband, 36 years on death row. Osband used a knife to kill a 66-year-old woman during the robbery of her apartment. David Raleigh, 36 years on death row. A security guard at a mansion, Raleigh locked 2 teen girls into a basement safe, forced them to strip, beat and stab them, held them hostage in the trunk of his car, and eventually dumped them. After their rescue, one died from 41 stab wounds. Charles Real, 36 years on death row. Real robbed a night shift worker at a truck stop along Interstate 5, drove the victim to another county, and then killed him. David Rogers, 36 years on death row. In shootings a year apart, Rogers killed 2 Bakersfield prostitutes. Guy Rowland, 36 years on death row. He essayed and killed a woman he met at a bar. Teddy Sanchez, 36 years on death row. Sanchez killed a 72-year-old man confined to a wheelchair and days later murdered a married couple. Hector Ayala, 35 years on death row. Ayala and his brother were convicted of triple homicide in 1988 for killing 3 men and wounding a 4th during an attempted robbery of a San Diego auto body shop being used as a distribution point for heroin. Ronaldo Ayala, 35 years on death row. Mexican mafia associates Ayala and his brother Hector killed 3 people and shot a 4th at a San Diego auto body shop used to distribute heroin. Rodney Beeler, 35 years on death row. Beeler shot to death a man who unwittingly walked in on the robbery of his home. Herbert Coddington, 35 years on death row. He posed as a filmmaker and called a modeling agency to send 2 girls to his trailer home. He essayed the girls, 12 years old and 14 years old, and killed the 2 elderly men, 69 and 73, who had been their chaperones. Albert Cunningham, 35 years on death row. Cunningham killed 2 men he met at a bar after following them to the parking lot and demanding their money. Gregory Demetrulias, 35 years on death row. He stabbed a man to death in his boarding house room to rob him after the victim was seen at a local diner with several $100s in cash. Randy Kraft, 35 years on death row. Kraft killed 16 young men between 1972 and 1983, mutilating some of them and leaving their bodies by the roadside. 6 of the men were Marines. Most of the victims had been drugged with alcohol and prescription relaxants. Kraft was discovered when he was pulled over for drunk driving, and officers found a dead man in the passenger seat. David Lucas, 35 years on death row. He was believed to have killed 5 women and a young boy and slashed the throat of a 7th victim in attacks from 1979 to 1984. He was convicted of 3 of the murders and attempted murder in a 4th case. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.